Sarah froze, the coffee mug halfway to her lips. Wait, what did you just say? Her heart hammered against her ribs as she stared at Mike across his kitchen table, wondering if she'd imagined those words. 5 years of friendship, 3 years of secretly loving him, and countless nights of helping with his daughter Emma. Had he really just suggested, even jokingly, that they should get married? Hey everyone, before we dive deeper into this incredible true story, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more heartwarming stories that remind us love finds a way, even when we least expect it. Your support helps us share these beautiful moments that might otherwise go untold. Mike hadn't planned to fall in love again after his wife's death. The last thing on his mind was romance when Sarah first entered his life as Emma's kindergarten teacher. But sometimes, the universe has plans we never see coming, until they're staring us right in the face. The morning had started like any other Sunday. Sarah had come over to help Emma with a science project, a weekend ritual that had developed naturally over the years. She'd become such a fixture in their lives that neither Mike nor his daughter could imagine their weekends without her presence filling the house with laughter. I said, Mike repeated, a nervous smile playing at the corners of his mouth, maybe you should just marry me. Then you wouldn't have to drive across town every weekend. He'd meant it as a joke, at least, that's what he told himself. But something in his voice betrayed the truth he'd been hiding from himself. Sarah set her mug down carefully, her fingers trembling slightly. Are you serious right now? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Mike looked at her, really looked at her, for perhaps the first time. The morning sunlight streaming through the kitchen window illuminated her face, and he suddenly saw everything he'd been too blind to notice, the way her eyes lit up when she helped Emma with homework, how she remembered every little detail about their lives, the natural way she fit into their home as if she'd always belonged there. He began, but stopped when he saw tears gathering in her eyes. Because if you're not, she continued, her voice steadier now, you should know I've been waiting to hear something like that for 3 years. The admission hung in the air between them, changing everything. Mike's journey to this moment had been paved with grief and struggle. After losing his wife to cancer when Emma was just 4, he'd thrown himself into single parenthood with a determination born of love and desperation. Every birthday party planned alone, every fever navigated without a partner, every milestone celebrated with a bittersweet awareness of who was missing, it had shaped him into a father who lived entirely for his daughter. When Sarah first entered their lives as Emma's kindergarten teacher, Mike had been impressed by her patience and genuine interest in his daughter's well-being. Parent-teacher conferences gradually evolved into casual conversations, which somehow transformed into Sarah offering to help Emma with reading struggles outside of school hours. I don't want to impose, Mike had said the first time she suggested it. It's not an imposition when it's something I want to do, Sarah had replied with such sincerity that he couldn't refuse. Those tutoring sessions became the foundation of their friendship. Sarah, with her infectious laugh and boundless energy, slowly brought light back into their home in ways Mike hadn't realized they needed. Emma bloomed under her attention, and Mike found himself looking forward to Sarah's visits with an enthusiasm that confused him. Sarah had her own history of heartbreak, a fiancé who'd left her 6 months before their wedding, claiming he wasn't ready. The betrayal had left her wary of relationships but hadn't diminished her capacity for caring. In Emma, she found a child whose curiosity and resilience touched her heart. In Mike, she discovered a man whose dedication to his daughter revealed a depth of character that drew her in despite her best efforts to maintain emotional distance. Neither of them had planned for feelings to develop. Both had built careful walls around their hearts for different reasons. But emotions rarely follow our carefully constructed plans. By the time Emma reached 3rd grade, Sarah had become such an integral part of their lives that neighbors assumed she and Mike were a couple. They attended Emma's soccer games together, collaborated on school projects, and shared countless dinners around Mike's kitchen table. Still, neither dared cross the invisible line from friendship to something more. I can't risk losing what we have, Sarah had confided to her sister one night after spending the evening helping Emma with a particularly challenging math assignment. They need me as a friend. What if I mess everything up by wanting more? What Sarah didn't know was that Mike had been having similar conversations with himself. As a single dad, his priority had always been Emma's stability. The thought of introducing a relationship that might not last, of subjecting his daughter to another loss, terrified him. Besides, Sarah was younger, beautiful, accomplished. Surely she deserved someone without his baggage. The walls they'd built had become a comfortable prison for them both, until that Sunday morning when Mike's joke accidentally revealed the truth they'd both been hiding. 3 years? Mike asked, stunned by Sarah's admission. She nodded, a single tear escaping down her cheek. Since Emma's birthday party in 2nd grade. You made those ridiculous unicorn cupcakes that turned everyone's mouths blue. She smiled at the memory. You stayed up all night working on them because you promised her, even though you had that big presentation the next day. Mike remembered that night, the kitchen disaster, the food coloring staining his hands, the pride on Emma's face when she saw his efforts. That's when I knew I was in love with you, Sarah continued. But you were my best friend, and Emma needed me to be her friend too. I couldn't risk what we had. Mike reached across the table and took her hand. I've been so afraid, he admitted. After losing Claire, the thought of opening up again, of possibly losing someone else I love, it paralyzed me. But somehow, without me even realizing it, you became the person I can't imagine living without. Dad? Miss Sarah? Emma's voice called from the hallway, followed by the appearance of the 9-year-old in her pajamas, hair tousled from sleep. Are you guys okay? You look weird. Mike and Sarah exchanged glances, a lifetime of possibility suddenly opening before them. Come here, sweetheart, Mike said, opening his arms to his daughter. When she climbed into his lap, he asked carefully, how would you feel if Sarah spent even more time with us? Emma looked between them, her expression serious. Like, if she lived here? Sarah held her breath, watching Mike nod. A slow smile spread across Emma's face. So she'd be here all the time? Even in the mornings? And at night for bedtime stories? That's the idea, Mike said, his voice thick with emotion. Finally. Emma exclaimed with the exasperated relief only a child could express. I've been waiting forever. Mike and Sarah burst into laughter, the tension of the moment breaking into pure joy. Waiting forever? Sarah repeated, wiping tears from her eyes. Emma nodded with the certainty of someone stating an obvious fact. Dad's happier when you're here. And you make the best pancakes. And you help me with homework better than Dad. She leaned in conspiratorially. Plus, I heard Mrs. Johnson next door tell her husband that you two were dancing around the obvious and should get on with it already. Mike groaned while Sarah covered her mouth to stifle another laugh. So, Emma continued, looking between them with hopeful eyes, are you getting married now? The question brought them back to the reality of what had just transpired. Mike looked at Sarah, suddenly uncertain. I didn't mean to put you on the spot with a joke. We could take this slowly. Sarah placed her finger against his lips. Mike Thompson, I have been taking this slowly for 3 years. I love you. I love Emma. If you're serious about this, then my answer is yes. Yes, he repeated, his voice filled with wonder. Yes, she confirmed. To all of it. Emma squealed with delight, throwing her arms around both of them. Can I be the flower girl? Can I tell my teacher? Can Sarah come to career day as my new mom? The questions tumbled out in excited succession, making the adults laugh again. One step at a time, sweetheart, Mike said, but his eyes never left Sarah's face. The joy he saw reflected there mirrored his own, along with something else, a sense of coming home. What began as a joke over Sunday morning coffee turned into a new beginning for all three of them. The proposal story became a family favorite, told and retold at gatherings for years to come, how a single father's offhand comment revealed the love that had been growing quietly in the spaces between homework help and blue-tongued birthday parties. The transition wasn't without challenges. Sarah moved in 3 months later, and adjusting to life as a family unit required patience and communication. Emma had moments of confusion and insecurity, wondering if loving Sarah somehow betrayed the mother she barely remembered. Mike occasionally retreated into himself when grief resurfaced unexpectedly. Sarah had to learn the delicate balance between establishing her place in their lives and honoring the history that preceded her. But through it all, they chose each other daily. They created new traditions while respecting old ones. They hung a portrait of Claire in the hallway and talked about her openly, ensuring her memory remained a cherished part of their story rather than a shadow over it. Sarah never tried to replace Emma's mother but instead created her own unique bond with the girl who had first brought them together. Their wedding was small and intimate, held in the backyard of the home they now shared. Emma stood proudly between them during the ceremony, holding both their hands as they exchanged vows that acknowledged their unusual path to love. "I never expected you," Mike said, his voice carrying across the gathered friends and family. "I thought my chance at this kind of happiness had ended. But you walked into our classroom, then into our home, and finally into our hearts. You didn't try to fix us, you just loved us exactly as we were while helping us become more than we thought possible." Sarah's vows honored both the present and the past. "I promise to cherish the family we're creating together and to respect the foundation it was built upon. I promise to love Emma as my own while helping her remember the mother who will always be part of her. And I promise to remind you, every day, that sometimes the best things in life begin with a joke over Sunday morning coffee." 2 years later, they welcomed a baby boy they named James. Emma embraced her role as big sister with pride and occasional teenage eye-rolling. The blend of past and present, of grief and joy, of endings and beginnings continued to shape their family story. On their 5th anniversary, Mike presented Sarah with a photo album. Inside were pictures she'd never seen before, snapshots of her with Emma and Mike throughout the years before they became a couple. There she was helping Emma with her first science fair project, cheering at soccer games, laughing at the kitchen table. "How did you get these?" she asked, touched by the unexpected gift. "I've been taking pictures of you with us since Emma was in kindergarten," he admitted sheepishly. "At first, it was just to document the kind teacher who was helping my daughter. But looking back at them now, I can see what everyone else saw long before I was brave enough to admit it." "What's that?" Sarah asked, turning the pages slowly. "That you were always meant to be part of our story." He pointed to a candid shot of her reading to Emma on the couch, both of them completely absorbed in the book. "Look at your face. You already loved her, loved us, even then." Sarah leaned against her husband, their sleeping son nestled between them and their daughter texting friends in the next room. "Some love stories take time," she said softly. "I'm glad ours did. We needed to build the friendship first so the love would have somewhere solid to stand." Mike kissed her forehead. "To think it all changed with one ridiculous joke." "The best joke of my life," Sarah agreed with a smile. Their story reminds us that love doesn't always arrive with dramatic declarations or love at first sight. Sometimes it grows quietly in the spaces between ordinary moments, in homework help and birthday parties, in support offered without expectation, in the courage to make a joke that reveals the truth your heart has known all along. Sometimes the family you're meant to have is waiting just on the other side of your fears. Sometimes the love of your life has been there all along, patiently waiting for you to see what's been right in front of you. And sometimes, just sometimes, the joke you make over Sunday morning coffee turns out to be the beginning of everything you never knew you needed. If this story touched your heart, please like and subscribe to our channel. We believe in the power of real stories to remind us that love finds a way, even in the most unexpected circumstances. Share in the comments if you've ever had a moment that changed everything, or if you're still waiting for that moment to arrive. Remember, sometimes the best beginnings start with something as simple as a joke that turns out to be the truth you've both been waiting to hear.